So what board members do we have on the line then? We have Georgie, Jackie, Dave, Pat.
Mike Chrishown.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Jane.
And Denise on the line?
No, Denise.
I don't see Denise.
I'll text her as you're going through.
You want to just wait a couple minutes then?
Yeah, I'll text her right now.
Okay. I mean, I got a nice haircut and everything for this meeting.
How did you do that?
I need a haircut.
I don't want to talk about it.
Sounds like a wife.
Yeah, I got a haircut a week or two ago, but I don't want to talk about that either.
I could use one. I'm going to go buy a Flowbee pretty soon.
You could ask Karen to do it. She could get years of frustration out.
I don't think I want Karen that close to my neck with scissors.
That's what I meant. Is Mark Schaefer on?
I don't see him. No.
Actually, Vanessa can read quickly a list. She looking right at the screen. She knows who's on.
For staff that we have on the call, we have Phil, Stacy, Jeremy, Thomas, Ross, and Sarah. If there's anybody I've missed, please let us know.
And board.
And for board, we have Jamie, Dave, Pat, Mike, Georgie.
I think we're just waiting on Denise, and Mark said he was going to sign on too. So we've had, I think you guys all know, we've had a little bit of news pickup on our CARES grant. You know, as this is usually the case, congressional delegation issued a joint press release the other day, a little after we got the official notification. So it's sort of a new news cycle. So we're explaining again what that money is and what we're going to do with it. Jamie Watson has had a few people coming in. Spectrum was here. We talked to Troy Record. We talked to the Business Review and others.
Definitely a good news story.
Yes, it is.
Of course, they all want to know how far does that take you? And our answer has been, we'll see. It depends on how far we sink. What we're saying initially is it replaces all of the customer revenues, since we haven't collected a dime in probably 3 weeks. After that, it's kind of a guess. Mortgage tax, we had a good March, but we're not anticipating a good April or a good May. Although I saw some really hefty real estate transactions in the paper Sunday.
There seems to still be a lot of refinancings. I mean, with rates dropping the way they have, I've had a bunch of, individual clients that have refinanced their mortgages. So, that may continue even with the economy being off right now.
Yeah, and the market's bouncing back. I mean, I don't know if it's going to stay there, but even today it's up a couple hundred points.
It's up 500 and something right now. I'm watching it.
Whoa.
It's at 564 points right now.
Yeah, one of the drug companies, I think, announced some advance on the coronavirus stuff.
Yes, they did this morning.
Jamie, you might want to start. We're getting up. Denise says she is signing on. Let's see. It could be her.
Mark Schaefer
is now joining.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
Denise, are you there?
Yeah, I've been here.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right.
I'm here.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
I think we're fully assembled then. Sorry about that.
Okay,
That's okay.
then let's get started. I will create the,
Is now exiting.
okay.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, I had to battle with my, I'm at the office, and so my laptop was interfering. It wanted to connect to the network here, had to get off and send the email to my private. It was crazy. It was just nuts. Just my computer at work doesn't have a camera in it. So if I'm going to do this on the video, I've got to use a different device. And
I'm the same way. My laptop has a camera, my desk computer does not.
right.
But we see
And
you
when I
all. We see you all fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had to get off the center network. That's all.
But other than that, I think we're set to go.
Okay, so then let's convene the April 29th meeting of the CDTA Board of Directors. It's about 12:05. Call the meeting to order. We've determined that we have a quorum present, by phone or by video. Any objections to the agenda? If not, we'll move on. I'll look for a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting on March 25th. I hope everyone's had a chance to review them.
Yep, so moved.
Second.
Any discussions? Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 We're passing on the recognitions and updates again this month. Whenever we get back together, we'll have quite a queue in the boardroom. We'll move on to the committee reports. I'll make the first report with the Board Operations Committee meeting of April 15th. We reviewed the committee agendas for today's meeting, and for the time being, all meetings will be virtual via phone call or using Microsoft Teams. Never did like Microsoft. Committee members talked about the election of board officers. It was agreed that I would ask current officers if they wish to continue. Have done that. So we have a slate of officers that we'll be discussing later in the meeting. Work on our strategic plan continues. In fact, we have scheduled a virtual meeting tomorrow with Barbara Gannon and the board to restart the planning process. So I think that's great news. During the Board Operations Committee, Mike Collins gave a brief financial update. He gave a further, more in-depth report at the Performance Monitoring Committee, so we'll be hearing more from Denise Figueroa shortly on that. As everyone knows, we've gotten great news from the federal government in that CDTA is a beneficiary of the CARES Act stimulus package. Staff applied for the funding, and we have received word that a grant of $42.8 million is now available. So this will be tacked on to the Performance Oversight Committee's agenda to figure out what to do with it and see what else needs to be done. Carmen and the staff have done an outstanding job of setting regular updates about CDTA's efforts in corresponding to COVID-19. Everything we do aligns with the governor's executive orders and guidance. Staff reviewed detailed communications plan that is being used to ensure that employees, customers, and the public are aware of our efforts. Kudos to everyone at CDTA for their tremendous attention to detail in keeping this essential transportation service operating smoothly and protecting our customers and employees every single day. And I speak higher board when I say that we cannot be of the professionalism,
Is now joining.
the diligence and the unmistakable care exhibited by the 700 men and women at the Capital District Transportation Authority. We have no choice but keeping up in these trying times, and we are showing every day that we are up to the task. Our next meeting of the Board Operations Committee is slated for Wednesday, May 13th at 9:50 a.m. And we'll try that again on the phone or through Microsoft Teams. We'll move on to the next committee report, which is the Performance Monitoring Audit Committee, and that would be Denise Figueroa.
Thank you, Jamie. The Performance Monitoring Committee met on April 22nd via Microsoft Teams. And we have one consent agenda item, and that is to approve a contract for purchasing traffic signal priority equipment. The committee discussed and recommends a contract to Global Traffic Technologies to deploy traffic signal priority equipment on buses and at intersections that allows our buses to take priority over vehicular traffic for the river BRT. We've already done this on the along the BRT on Central Avenue, and so this again, I believe, is the same company that we utilized for that. So we need a motion for a contract for Global Traffic Technologies of St. Paul, Minnesota, for an amount not to exceed $1,458,055.
Can I get a motion on this resolution, please?
So moved, Jackie.
Second?
Second.
Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jackie. Any discussion about this item, which is integral to the BRT expansion?
I just have a question. Is this a once and done expenditures, or is it for a period of time?
There would be maintenance contracts associated with this through GTT Technologies for kind of basic configuration and setup as intersections kind of come and go, and timing plans need to be changed because that happens as traffic conditions change throughout the year or across multiple years. But beyond that, this contract alone is for hardware and installation and implementation services as well as software licensing. There are likely to, like I said, to be some maintenance contracts costs in the future after it's implemented.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
If not, then all those in favor of the resolution say aye.
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 Any noes or abstentions?
Belated aye.
All right, then it's unanimous. It's approved.
Great. Thank you. The next item was the Audit Committee. Sarah Matros provided her quarterly audit report, which was included in the packet, I believe. And she outlined her what she's done for the quarter, as well as what her plans are for the next quarter. Moving along, the Investment Committee, we had the annual review and approval of the investment policy on the agenda here, and that is the Public Authorities Law requires authorities to annually review and approve their investment policy. The policy details the policies for investing, monitoring, and reporting of funds. There are no recommended changes to the policy. It was reviewed by our consultant at U. Johnson, as well as Amanda reviewed the policy, and so we are requesting a motion to approve the 2020 investment policy without any changes.
This is Dave. I'll move the resolution.
Thank you, Dave. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or discussions about the investment policy? Pretty much a formality to get filed with the ABO and placed on our website. All those
Normally it would be a formality, but the markets are in a severe state of disruption. Is there any issue of risk considering the uncertainty in the markets, or is this mostly bonds or what?
Yeah, we're pretty restricted in terms of, well, and Mike, you may want to address this. But I was just going to say we're pretty restricted in terms of what we can invest in. Anyway, we're not in the stock market. But Mike, you want to elaborate?
Correct, Denise. There's limited options for us to invest. We're pretty much only tied into government securities. That's in treasuries and things like that. So that's all we can invest in.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, then all those in favor of the re-adopting the investment policy, say aye.
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 Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none, the resolution is approved. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we had administrative discussion items, and the first one was the monthly management report. Mike Collins gave the year-end monthly management report. We finished the year strong, exceeding budget expectations by $2 million. Revenue highlights included MRT exceeded budget by $900,000 and customer revenue by $90,000, despite the March collapse due to COVID-19. Expense highlights included health benefits under budget by $300,000 and workers' compensation under budget by $700,000. Overall, we had a very good year. Unfortunately, I don't know that will be something we can reflect again too soon. But Mike, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
The only thing I would say that as far as financially is concerned going forward is we do have the CARES Act and we have $42.8 million that we have access to. So it should certainly help us in the transition going into next year.
Yeah. Good point. Anybody else have any other questions on the monthly management report, the financial? Okay, if not, I'll move on to the non-financial report. And Chris Desney gave the monthly non-financial report. COVID-19 did have a significant impact to ridership in March. Our total ridership was down 25% for the month and down 3% for the year. STAR was down 28% for the month, but up 6% for the year. On-time performance remained steady at 74%, while preventable accidents were at 13% and non-preventable accidents at 21%. I don't know if, Chris, you wanted to add anything to that report.
The only comment I'll make is, yeah, if it wasn't for the downturn the last few weeks, echoing that we probably would have come in flat this year because we're kind of rebounding from some of the ridership, some small declines over the last couple of years. We were right on track for being flat or within the margin of error of flat. So that's all.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on the non-financial report? If not, our next meeting of our committee is scheduled for May 20th and probably on Microsoft Teams, or I don't think we'll be in person yet, but that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Committee and Stakeholder Relations, Unity and Stakeholders Relations.
Thank you, Jamie. The Community and Stakeholder Relations Committee met on April 23rd, and the staff provided presentations and updates which engaged discussions surrounding COVID-19 efforts. Jamie Watson summarized the monthly community engagement report. In total, there were 30 media stories on television, radio, in the newspaper, and online. The stories were all related to our service and safety efforts in response to the pandemic. Many of them highlighted the great work being done by the operators and maintenance team out on the front line. Jamie also discussed the communications plan to keep employees, retirees, and the public informed about the company's efforts surrounding COVID-19. It is a multi-pronged approach, working with several key departments to keep everyone informed and engaged. The work continues, and plans are continually getting updated and revised based on guidance coming from the governor's office. Jonathan Scherzer presented the company's marketing efforts surrounding COVID-19. He talked about customer engagement, social media, and advertising assets that have been produced and will be rolled out to the public as part of CDTA's COVID messaging. The next meeting of this committee will be held on Thursday, May 21st at 10:45 a.m. via Microsoft Teams.
Thank you, Jackie. Any questions about the committee report? Comments? You guys are doing a great job. We'll move on then to the final committee report, Strategic and Operational Planning Committee by Mike Stone.
Thanks, Jamie. I'm back. For some reason, I got kicked off again, but I'll be quick. I don't know. The committee, 23rd, we have Microsoft Teams. We had no consent agenda items. Our administrative discussion item was the COVID-19 ridership update. Ross Farrell reviewed the service changes and ridership impacts since COVID-19 became a material issue in our area at the beginning of March. Clearly, transit properties across the U.S. have lost significant ridership, and other modes have been negatively impacted: rideshare, vehicle usage, retail foot traffic, etc. While initial declines were steep, they have since leveled off, down 61% on weekdays and 48% on weekends. Routes to colleges are more affected than those that serve essential businesses. Star ridership is down 65%, with most of the declines coming from recreation, school, and church-based trips. Our first round of service changes in response to the pandemic took place on March 23rd, when we adjusted most routes to a Saturday schedule with a few enhancements in targeted areas. Based on ridership levels on March 30th, we increased span on essential routes while still cutting back on very low ridership routes. On April 6th, we went to rear door boarding. The operations department monitors loads for compliance with social distance.
We may have lost Mike again. Is everybody else there?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm here. Yep.
I'm back.
He's back.
Oh, there you go.
We'll get our best minds on this, Mike. I think he's gone. He's gone. I don't know if you want to pick up the meeting and then we'll get Mike's report finished when he hopefully gets back.
I'm back.
That's fine. Or we can go by the 3 strikes and you're out rule, too. And we're still waiting on Mike?
Yeah.
I thought he.
It seems like he's popping in and out here.
Yeah.
You might wanna-
Microsoft, so on.
Yeah, you might want to do the next item, and then we'll try to get Mike. He was halfway through, I think.
Yep, okay. So let's just jump into the next item, which is the election of board officers. As I mentioned in my report, we made the rounds, talked to Dave and Mike and Mark. everyone's agreed to continue to serve in their respective capacities on the board. So I will take a motion in a second to approve that slate of officers for the next year.
So moved. Second.
Thank you both. Any questions, comments? Thank you, everyone, for your service. All those in favor say aye.
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 Can't possibly be anyone opposed, so it's approved.
Thanks, everybody.
So, Carm, you want to jump into your report, and then we'll try to finish up with Mike?
Sure. The CEO report is in the packet. I emailed it to the members this morning as we adjust to sort of our new way of doing business with everything pretty much electronic, which is tough for some of our young people here like me. The report starts with what a difference 6 weeks can make, and really it's the way to describe it, I think. In a short period of time, we went from talking nonstop about BRT lines and electric buses, and strategic planning, and maybe taking out Montgomery County, to talking pretty much nonstop 99% of the time about COVID-19 and its impact on the nation, on the region, and certainly on CDTA. It has caused us to have to pivot in a way that I've really not seen in my career here. Never had seen the organization have to sort of do an about face. That's really what I would call it. Everything that we sort of have known as normal is out the window, and we're relearning what we need to do and how we need to do it on the fly. So, really hats off to everybody for making that pivot, and I'll go through just a couple of things that illustrate the pivot, but I will continue to keep everybody updated with regular emails and short reports, hopefully, on this issue. So the service design now, the way the system is designed, a couple of reports here talked about, we're at about 40% of what normal ridership is, but the resources expended to give us that 40% are more like 60 or 65%. It's redesigned with a focus on employment sites, healthcare centers, grocery stores, pharmacies, and places like that. So you get the drift of what we're trying to do. We never had to factor in social distancing into any of our decisions post-COVID-19. That's now a principal factor. And what we have to factor in is, and Ross talked about this at length at the strategic planning committee meeting, is what is overcrowding, or what is crowding. We liked crowding before COVID. That was a sign of success. That was a sign of strength. Now, crowding is when you approach a dozen people on a bus. So we've had to factor that in. We've had to make a lot of changes to keep our employees and our customers safe. We've detailed most of those: rear door, revised cleaning procedures, new ways of thinking about what clean is. The maintenance department's been really great at that. We now have crews that are mobile and clean buses literally nonstop. And that's going to have to continue, because part of this discussion is we're already shifting into what reopening is going to look like. We're working closely with the governor's office and taking directions that we're getting. It's starting, it's at the beginning, but it's starting to sort of become clear as to what reopening will be like in the capital region. How we clean, what we clean, and when we clean are a major part of reopening, as is the new expectation for capacity. That will be a major factor in how we reopen. It is most likely that the trunk routes, which are doing the majority of the work, the vast majority of the work right now, will continue to do that, and that will be our focus. The meetings that we're having right now, a virtual meeting are now the way we do business, it's the way we manage. About 80% of the management staff is remote on any given day. Honestly, they've had to learn how to do that. We never did that before. We've never had to manage remotely. We're learning how to manage remotely. Frankly, it's not easy. I think a lot of cooperation and understanding that's getting done. Special, recognition to Phil Perella and Melissa Shanley. We talk about this CARES Act grant submission. It's the largest single grant we've ever received, largest single grant we've ever received. It was turned around in a matter of about a week or two. And the information that was asked for was never asked for before in a grant submission. So great work by those two individuals. At least for now, the way that money will flow is it will replace revenue that we've lost and don't have access to. And I think Mike mentioned this. It's really going to relieve what is now a very difficult cash flow situation. We've been to our line of credit twice. And frankly, if we had to go a third time, we would have had to expand the line. Glad that we didn't have to do it. So it's actually perfectly timed. Tomorrow we'll talk, as I think Jamie said, we'll talk to Barbara about the strategic plan. I think the pillars still hold. You may want to change some of them, but the pillars still hold. How we will implement some of that work will be different, I would imagine, in the next several weeks. But we sort of hit a wall. We were scheduled to meet on March 25th to talk about the pillars and give the board some insight into the great work leadership teams. We find so much new data, and we want to get that information to you. That's really going to be one of the topics of our discussion with Barbara. We want to share that. We want you to see that. We want you to experience that. It gives you a feel for why we were on the verge of so many important good things. And I think we're still on the verge of important good things. Some of them COVID, some of them not. Construction projects still moving along. Our wellness center actually is almost done. It is about ready for fit up, and Mike and Amanda are talking to folks over at CPHP who will staff it. We're not sure of the exact timing of it, but hopefully within a month or two, we'll have a wellness center for our employees. It may happen at just the right time. There are going to be new ways to evaluate whether an employee is ready for work, fit for work. So I think the wellness center, by accident, I'd love to take credit for this, but we can't. But by accident, our Troy garage expansion is moving right along. That will finish on time, mid-late summer. Work is going on. And while we're talking about all this, looking forward, Ross Farrell, Jeremy Smith, and a number of other people are in another review stage with the FTA for our Washington Western beach. While we COVID and while we get the existing shop program, we're already working with the FTA, I would say, on a 2-year out basis. So that project is still alive, well. I read a lot in the last couple of weeks about heroes, and most of it is well earned and well deserved. It's like everybody's jumping on the hero thing, but I was thinking about who were my heroes during the last month, and there was like 3 categories, and I highlighted in the report. Our employees, the frontline guys and gals who are coming to work every single day. They put a mask on, they put gloves on. They greet customers. They clean buses that hundreds of people have come into, touched. They fix buses that might be compromised. They do it with a smile. Basically, they just line up and say, "Hey, what do you want me to do next?" We've got people on our treasury who haven't been able to count money. They're painting their workspace. We have people, doing things that they never thought they would do before. And yeah, there's an occasional gripe and an occasional growl. It seems like most people understand the situation we're in. Showing their true blue colors and their CDK strong. Our staff, our management staff, they are in completely uncharted waters. Working from home was something we talked about a lot. We would occasionally have a person work from home for a day, or every now and then we would have one of our employees have a baby, and while she was on maternity leave, we would experiment a week or two working from home. But we didn't really even understand what it meant. We didn't understand certainly the technology that would be involved, the strain on the system and the servers. So when we had to work from home remotely, the heroes on the management staff basically rallied, and they're getting it done. They're doing it every day. They're productive. I don't know how happy they are. Taking care of kids, schooling kids, having the dog bark while they're on a conference call, but they seem to be, adjusting well. We need to make some changes there, but that's another set of heroes. Another set for me is our stakeholders and partners. I've lost track of the calls and emails that I've gotten, just checking in. Everything from elected officials at the highest office to village mayors who we've developed relationships with, state agencies, universal access partners, people who we do business with, just checking in to make sure that we're doing okay, or checking in because they saw something that happened and wanted to compliment the company. It's just unbelievable for people to call us and check in on us. And lastly, all of you on the call, board, you've had to change, all eight of you. You've changed how we do business. But you've been there for every call. There have been no skipping of meetings, no revised schedules. You've made it a priority that we're going to continue to engage in meaningful discussion about things that are doing. Strategic plan's a perfect example. The easiest thing for you to do would have been to just put it on hold, put it aside, and we'll talk about it some other time. You've decided, no, let's talk about it. Let's see where it's going to go. We may have to do some shuffling, some pivoting, but that's just different, and gives me it's kind of like how I keep going. Knowing that all of us are working together to keep the company that we worked so hard to build at a high level of performance, recognition, of relevance. We've talked about relevance over and over and over again since I've had this job before. I think if there's any question of our relevance, someone's not paying attention. We are as relevant today, I think, as we've been. So there's lots of activities. Most of them are virtual meetings. I kind of thought, try to continue listing these things, but they give you sort of a point of but thanks for your cooperation, your patience. We don't intentionally bounce Mike Crushone off the calls. And we're learning as we go.
I'm back. I hopped over to another computer.
If we can keep Pat Lance on 100% of the time, that shows you how good a job we're doing.
Believe me.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Carm. Anybody have any questions for Carm about his report or anything else? I guess we'll jump back to Mike so you can complete your committee report.
Yes, thank you, Jamie, and sorry about that, everyone. Where we were was on April 23rd, we did a system-wide update to over 28 routes. Star service levels remain unchanged. Carm provided additional insight as to what we are doing in response to the outbreak, and several times a week he provides detailed reports to the board members. We had no executive session items to discuss. The next meeting of the committee will be Thursday, May 21st via Microsoft Teams, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Jim.
And anybody have any questions about the two-part report on the committee meeting?
No, Jamie, this is Denise.
Yeah.
I do have a question, actually not for that report, but for Carm related to the health center. Well, two-part question. One is, are all of our, and you may have said this, are all of the drivers, have they all been starting to get tested now? Because I know that the essential workers are supposed to have priority to get tested. And then the second follow-up question to that is, will the health center be able to do testing when it opens?
Yeah, thanks, Denise. We'll work backwards. 6 weeks ago, there was never any intention to have the wellness center be a test center. By the time it opens, it will be. So
Okay.
That's sort of the good part. The answer to the first part of your question, we haven't started yet, but we are talking to the Department of Health about how that process works. We've been identified as a segment that would be tested, or the frontline employees would be tested.
Yep.
It's still in development right now.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Appreciate that. The drivers have been very cooperative. We talked yesterday, we had a third positive, but our first bus operator. Actually, it's kind of amazing given the amount of exposure they have. And I mean, that could change tomorrow, but the amount of exposure, so we consider ourselves lucky. And in fact, the employee who tested positive was in quarantine and had been in quarantine for almost the entire 14-day period because the person that he lives with, not sure the relation, wife or significant, I'll call it significant other, had tested positive. So it was almost inevitable. But some of it is luck, and I'd like to say some of it is, from the beginning, we followed the guidance, and we've done what, I don't think we've done anything truly innovative, but we've done everything we've been asked to do.
Very good. There's no executive session. Do any board members have any comments or want to say anything before we complete the meeting? If not,
No,
then I'll
thank you.
I'll make a motion. And we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank
safe,
you.
everybody.
Yeah, stay safe. Thank you.
Multiple people are now exiting. Multiple